say that I started. Hmm. I started teaching quantitative techniques. That was for batch 13, PRM 13. So first class, I and Sriram, MS Sriram, and I think accounts was being taught by. No, Sriram was teaching accounting. I was teaching IGB. I was teaching quantitative. Someone else was teaching them. So three of us. I remember Devi was teaching some course. First day, first class, students had in two different sections. They had two different quizzes, and after the second session also they had quizzes. So they were terrible. So that used to be Irma. So Sriram used to tell me that this is the Irma tradition, and the first day, first quiz, so that they know that it is tough. So that
But
is
that
how.
jhatka is important, sir.
That's true. But I don't think nowadays I don't take any first day test. No, no, I've given it.
Sir, we have a quick feedback.
Uh,
Maybe if we can wipe your camera a little bit, the screen is slightly blurry, people are saying.
my side screen is blurry.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can do something about
just
it.
a little wiping on the camera will help.
Um, Acha, what is happening now? I understand why it is blurring. Because the lights are there and it's reflected on the surface. Is that so? Needs wiping. Okay. Good feedback. That's very, very. Let me find out. I'll just give me a second. I'll
Yes,
call Raju Bhai
yes.
and if he can do something about
Okay. So, guys, meanwhile, by the time sir comes back, of course, I will make some announcement on the next CEO conclave, which is going to happen in November this year. And we are in January, so we have plenty of time to make arrangements. I am looking for forming a good team who would like to volunteer and work around. So please do ping me in case. Sir, अब एकदम अच्छा लग रहा है. क्या
अभी
किया?
लग रहा है ना? ओह
हाँ.
थैंक यू। ये राजू भाई का कमाल है, मेरा कुछ नहीं है। ये राजू भाई ये सबका हिफाजत करते हैं। सो
राजू
थैंक
भाई
राजू
देखिए,
भाई।
थोड़ा पोच वोच दीजिए, थोड़ा बड़ा करने पे ब्लर आता है, वैसे सर का ठीक
नहीं नहीं,
दिखता
अब नहीं
है।
होगा, ठीक हो जाएगा, कमरेड है। अभी दोबारा एक
हाँ,
बार पता करके देखिए, नहीं है तो मुझे
अभी
बताइए।
सही है। हाँ, क्या
एकदम
किया
क्लियर हो
आपने?
गया।
ओके, थैंक
क्या
यू मैम।
किया क्या, वो हमें भी तो पता ही है ना। ऐसे
वो
तो नहीं।
साफ कर दिया, वो जो
ये हो गया।
लेंस को साफ कर दिया।
अच्छा,
ठीक है
cool.
ना?
Okay, so sir, I think with your permission, I
प्लीज।
would begin,
हाँ।
and I would like to welcome everyone for this amazing IRMAn Talk series. And this is going to be the very special one in the new year because we are having and we are hosting somebody very special and close to all of our hearts because we remember Professor Biswas as somebody who conducted a quiz first day of the course for almost all of us. So he was the one who actually gave us the real feel of coming to IRMA. And he, of course, needs no introduction, but I would like to just say a couple of things in his honor. He is a professor at IRMA since June 92, and he has authored over 50 research papers and is a co-author of a forthcoming book called Sanitation in India, Routledge. And as the founding chief editor of the International Journal of Rural Management, he serves on the editorial boards of several journals in India and abroad. And he's on the board of directors of the International Association Applied Psychology, Center of Social Sciences Surat, and the Silver Oak Institute of Management. He is the past president of the National Academy of Psychology. And this is only a very little thing about him. Of course, we all know so much more about him. And today he is going to take us on a journey which will be about evolution of a unique institution, a conjuner's account by Professor Saswat Biswas. And I would pass it on over to you, sir. Please take the session forward and share with us.
Thank you so much for having me and someone thinking about it. And I think last year when Ritesh contacted me, and thankful, I don't know whether Ritesh is here. Yes, Ritesh Chaturvedi, I am not able to see. Anyway, so Ritesh contacted me. I was elated. I said, okay, great. Because you see, my journey with IRMAn, some maybe God willing, as they would say, safe, just a minute. Uh, that as they would say, that I'm there for a few more years, but as my here will someday it will come to an end. And I was thinking once that I should write a memoir once I'm retired. No, I will not do it as long as I am on the job here. No, but I will write something about Irma because I just few days back it occurred to me that I have spent more than 50% of my life here at this place. 50%. I spent more than 31 years. It's going to be 32 years actually. This year only it will be 32 years. And I'm 60. So that makes me more than 59, 51% that I have spent here. And it has been a great learning, great journey, great learning. And I have seen. So I thought that maybe with whom, with alumni, if I share the first cut, the way I have looked at it, the way I saw things evolving, and you see what happens. We Indians are not. We don't document much. Most institutions, like yesterday, the only day before yesterday, I was telling some of my faculty colleagues about some incidents that many did not know that Amul started. I'll just tell one part. Amul started as it replaced not Pulson Dairy. It replaced the milk contractors. It was supplying milk to Pulson, but that is a well-guarded secret of Amul's origin. Uh, Many people don't know. The point is that similarly, many things that happen in an institution, we don't document it. Sometimes we document. So one of my faculty colleagues was asking, sir, is there any document saying it? I said, these are all memories. I'm sure there are documents with Amul which testifies it. Yes, there are, but it's not public. Similarly, there are many things happen in an institutions, and any person's life or an institution's life, um, it's like it flows in its own course. It's like a river. It's not a canal. You know the difference between a canal and a man-made canal and a river. Man-made canal, human artifacts, it's usually straight line. Whereas a river has lot of bends, turns and twists. It never flows in a straight line. Of course, when you start an institution, you think that it will go take a straight course and it is going towards some one objective. But it never happens that way. It goes, it does, it talks about objective, its mission and all that, but it takes twists and turns. You see, my position is this, and only a few days back, we had a meet of the third batch, 40 saal baad, after 40 years there. And that time, one of the old professors also had also come. And one of the professors who had just left when I was joining, Shenoy, Professor Shenoy, so he told me, he was in my recruitment seminar, I remember. He also remembered. And then suddenly he said, okay, you joined this time. Then I said, sir, for 1 year I was out and then I came back again. For 1 year I was, well, okay. then that makes you the oldest fellow here. I said, yes, no one from my time has survived in IRMA. Okay, that makes me. Well, this should be noted. I said, okay, sir, so I'm grateful to IRMA for having given me this opportunity to be here for such a long time. So, and while talking to him and talking to the people, because with IRMA, my knowledge of IRMA, how it started and all, I'll tell you. And that's how I related to third batch. I remember it was 81 sometime, and one of my classmates, Ramu Sharma. So we were very good friends. He was in commerce, I was in arts, but we were very good friends. He was a good guitar player. So he told me that we were discussing what you do after graduation and all that. He said that I am applying to an institution in Gujarat. I said, I am Ahmedabad. He said, no, 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 no. It is a Institute of Rural Management, Anand IRMA. I said, what is this institution? Then those days, there was one page. The IRMA brochure used to be a A4 size brochure. A4 size, one page, single, two sides they will print. And that used to be the brochure, which long after that, when I came and I became the admissions coordinator, I changed that. I'll tell you that later. And how the change process. So what happened, I saw that and I saw some money, and for some it did not trigger. I said, how much salary, what will happen? Then it was written that after that you will become an officer in NDDB, National Dairy Development Board, with 1200 rupees salary. So I said, 1200 rupees? I did not go through a course. I just appear for a bank exam and I get 2200, 1000 rupees more. Unfortunately, and that is unfortunate of me, Ramu applied and he got through. I did not. I did not apply also. And but long after that, I knew about IRMA. So that's how he came and he became PRM 3. Ramu was, and that is how I connect with Sriram when I met and we connected, and then all the third batch people. So that's one thing that was with IRMA. And I think 92 I applied, and um, that was I was in the process of submitting my thesis, PhD thesis, and that's the time I got a call. I came and made a presentation, and it seems they might have been happy, and then they said that we can offer, but with one condition: if chairman approves it. So those days we used to have a meeting with the chairman. So some of my friends here said that I said, chairman's meeting, well, the chairman, those days, the chairman will have the last interview before the faculty is appointed. Nowadays, we don't have that. A Korean will personally say that, okay, this fellow is good enough to be appointed. So I went, and the first thing he said, what were you doing before this? I said, sir, I was in a bank. I was a bank officer. Bank officers, they're all thieves. So I did not say anything because my friend said that you don't tell anything to Korean. Whatever he says, you just keep on. And if he asks a pointed question to you, then only you answer. So you speak only when you are talked to. Though otherwise, when you are asked a question, otherwise you don't speak. You just keep on smiling and looking at him. So I did the same. And then the interview was, and then my friends had said that even if you don't get, and that's what I thought. I said, look, I have come here and this is a great opportunity. Ordinarily, you don't meet a person like Korean. Those days, he was a giant of a person. When we were in school or just entered college, we used to read about him. And so it was a great chance that you meet, even if you don't get a job, you meet a great person. So that's the satisfaction with which you will go. So I went and met him. And I think luckily for me, Korean did not disapprove of me. So I was in, and that's how I joined. And it has been a great year. But let me tell you, the first IRMA is now completed at 45, 44 years. I was not there for the first 12 years of IRMA's life. So whatever my knowledge of IRMA of the first 12 years, one great thing, because when I joined, there are some people from the founding professors, they were still there, they're still working. And they carried on that because that was the founding culture. Uh, and they carried on that culture. So some or other, they transmitted that culture. So first 12 years. So when I talk about IRMA, I basically break IRMA, the whole 45 years, roughly into 4 phases. The phase one, which I'll tell you why I call it phase one and what is the phase one, was the first decade of IRMA, in which I was not present. But fortunately enough for me, and that's what, when I joined, IRMA had got done, something done by two great professors, Professor Uday Parikh, who was also my PhD examiner. The Professor Uday Parikh had done a decadal review of IRMA. So it had, so the IRMA management had asked Professor Parikh and Forrester, people here in IRMA used to say Kala Gora team. So the Kala Gora team, they had done a first decadal review, how IRMA has come and its trajectory, and what is the future trajectory it should take. That was the. And I had full access, not only to the review, but people who had reviewed it. Like Professor Parikh was a great OB person, and whom I looked. He was my teacher's teacher. So that's that sort of relationship I had. So that's how it started. So I got a peek into the first 10 years, the trajectory through these reports. And then another thing, once Professor Parikh had done this, he also wanted someone else to do a follow-up, another study to find out where they should go, how it should be done, what will be the intake like. So another committee, so he suggested that Mahajan, sometimes some names slip out of my mind. It's a Mahajan. Can anyone? So anyway,
Mahajan.
हाँ विजय महाजन,
विजय?
विजय महाजन, यस यस विजय. देखो इस समय विजय का नाम स्किप कर रहा है दिमाग, क्या हो रहा है, मैं बुढ़ा हो रहा हूँ. So anyway, so Vijay Mahajan report, and so that also I went through. It suggested certain things, and of course there were the founding faculty members. So that is the first phase. But as if I were to, and I am looking at that first phase not with any direct, because I was not there, but all my sources are indirect, and but I have some pick into that, and but I got that's a beginning stage, must have been a very interesting phase for IRPA. Interesting phase from two sides. One is that these faculty members, the first generation faculty members, they must be working very hard to create a discipline which never existed anywhere and justify its existence. You know, it's a big challenge. So many of them were, we had something which I lament, and then maybe I'm sorry that IRMA did not continue with that, say cases in rural management. There was series, and people really worked hard to bring out different cases, teaching material, teaching notes, which is specifically directed for rural man based on their lived-in experience in rural areas, because students go for field work. Faculty also simultaneously did field work with the students. Lot of cases, case studies, and one that the famous IRMA simulation that was created based on those case study. Basically, it was based out of a. So that sort of energy was that to create, and but still then I would not say that every faculty or every student understood IRMA in the same way. Okay. Because whenever this question, and I think those days, if I remember, there's some people like Shankar, the first batch people, Shankar Datta and Sanjay Ghosh, I have talked to them, and they would always say that we would always fight what is management, what is rural management. Those discussions were the mainstream discussion that was after class and all those. And everyone, I think, in their own way, developed their own interpretation of rural management, little bit. But it was more like, for example, when IRMA started, Dr. Kurian started IRMA, it was more thought in terms of creating human resources for the cooperative dairy sector. That was the way. But as it progressed, they found that it has applications everywhere. Like just now, we concluded a MDP for one of the nationalized bank, and I was discussing with the CGM of that bank, and he said that we understand that IRMA can give a lot to us as a banking industry and all that. So anyway, that's how people feel. But we were all debating, and IRMA was a huge hotbed for debate, what it should do and what it should not do. And each one gave their. So the first 10 years, I would say, was a period of new, what we call it was a period of bonhoming. It was a period, and I if I remember it correctly, I mean, if what people said, faculty and students interaction was because small group of students, the batch size was very small, and faculty was of course young. I still remember anyway 93 we were having a workshop here in this room where I am talking, exact this place. Tushar was the director, and we were doing a SWOT analysis of IRMA. And Pankaj, yes, or not Pankaj, Sanjeev Fansalkar. Sanjeev was presenting the report. And he said, he was presenting a SWOT analysis of IRMA. And he said, our strength is very young faculty. At that time, our average age was about 35 or 34, something like that. Today, I am the disruptor because I was the youngest, almost the most young. I and Devi, we used to be the youngest faculty at that time. And maybe Rajesh Agarwal, sorry, Rajesh Agarwal was there. But today, I and Shailendra, we tip the balance on the other extreme, taking the average much higher. So that's that apart. We were, but of course, the first batch, first 18, many of you may not know, the first 10 years there will be very few faculty, but as Tushar became the director, he started recruiting in Big Napa. And when I joined that year, 1992, by December, we were 38 faculty, which we have not achieved now also. Let me tell you, underline this. That time, Tushar went ahead, huge recruitment. And we IRMA recruited 38 faculty members. And we started, and the next 10 years, I would say, next 10 years, I would put between 92, 10, 12, 12, 13 years, I'd say 12 years, 92 to 2003, 4. And that phase, though there was debate, but what happened in 90, you see, when IRMA was conceived, and you will have to understand this, IRMA was conceived in 70s. It took a lot of time for Dr. Kurian from conception to actual establishment of IRMA. For 5, 6 years, or slightly more. So when IRMA was conceived as a very different entity. That time, in 70s, many of you may not know, 70s was a heyday of public sector in the country. It was a controlled regime. It was public sector. And private has almost no role, nothing. We did not have at that time a private bank, maybe a federal bank was there, but almost. So privatization was not. And so it was either you have public sector, heydays of public sector. And of course, Kurian was trying to build a parallel to that public sector, the cooperative sector, that it will be. And though it was not a pure socialistic economy, but it tried to ape a socialist sort of economy. And so the whole architecture, not the physical architecture I'm talking about architecture of an institution, the spirit of the institution. And that was designed keeping that socialistic public sector orientation in mind. And by the time we come to 1990, 91, the first small baby step, I would say, baby step of liberalization was coming in. When I joined, I remember the first time, and this is what many of you should understand and know, that Dr. Kurian started thinking, he told us that what are the alternative cooperative? What or can cooperatives be? So in IRMA, the first time some of our colleagues were talking about the cooperative companies. In fact, 90, 91, 92, 92, I think I had joined. After that, only that working paper came. 2, 3 faculty members worked, and Tushar was also involved with that, cooperative companies. And it was, so the ball had started rolling, and it was slightly different because people knew that changes are coming. And some people thought that it's going to be very big. Some people say that we will go against the tide. You'll have to understand this, that it was not an unanimous thing, that where do we go, how do we move along with the liberalization and all that. In fact, that was the time, in early 90s, this term called market economy. Okay, market economy was gaining a momentum. And what we call liberalization, LPG privatization, and globalization was and in fact, Tushar had also first time, and that's why I think his work got real attention. Because he was talking first time talking about the water markets. Because till that time, water was many people in India, within the Indian context, who will sell water? Why people will pay for water? But he was bringing into that sort of research, and books had come up. So I think there was a change that was taking place, but within IRMA, when I am saying within IRMA, I am not just faculty, it is also about IRMA management. There was this, I think there was a ideological schism that was so notable. Not schism, I think people were toying with different ideas. In fact, if I remember, much later, slightly later, Korean had sent some faculty members to Australia and Canada to study these new age cooperatives. I'll talk about it later, that how changes. So no institution, always remember, any institution, any organization, it cannot insulate itself from the external forces. We get regulated, influenced by external forces. And maybe those forces, sometimes they are so powerful that even if you, like, for example, 90s, the early 90s, I remember, and I used to tell students and all that look, we are swimming against the current. We are going against the current. And we used to take a lot of pride for that. To give you one example, you see, one of the regulators, AICTE, though it's not possible in one hour to narrate all my, but to help you understand that how the institution gets shaped. You see, there was AICT for a long time. AICT was regulating, but many of you may not know that in IRMA we said we don't need AICT. So we never came under AICT till about 1993. They came to us, they said, why don't you get AICT approval? Why don't you become a AICT approved institution? So Dr. Kurian, in his characteristic way, asked, what do we get it from? Well, no, you get a national level recognition. ठीक है, भाई, ठीक है. And I'll tell you how this thing has bugged us. We 93, 94, IRMA first got AICT approval. It had got AIU approval before that, 93. And they were very good. And we never, but though we got approval of AICT, and I have to tell you that 90s journey, but we never bothered about what is AICT. None of us, I was admissions coordinator 96, 97. I did not know that AICT has some regulations for us. I did not know. None of us, 90s. So we went on because any problem we knew, if we have any problem as an institution, Dr. Kurian is there and he will find a solution to this, any problem. So we started, so 92, 93, I think we knew that world is changing, our country is changing, policies are changing, but we thought that we will swim against the current, which was not a very, in retrospect, I'm saying that maybe, I don't know, but there was discussion that, okay, some people were saying that we should swim along with the current, someone said we should swim against the current. And till that time and those days, like for example, one of the instrumentality of IRMA was its placement policy. And the placement policy debarred certain types of organizations. If those were students old enough at that time, from that 90s, anyone from 90s here, the student, anyway, those 93, 90, so the placement was very restricted. So only certain companies, certain organizations were allowed. And there was always the students. Of course, if I were a student that time, maybe I would have said, why we should be liberated. We should have a choice, free choice and all that. But anyway, that continued. And I remember 96, 97, when I became the admissions coordinator, first time, and that is, I'll tell you the first real, and that's the first time we confronted this issue, that should we go along with so internally there's some faculty, more vocal ones, maybe in the faculty meetings and all that, they said that we should slightly open up. And what will be the opening up? Now, one way we will stick to our basic mission. So we'll have a development management, and then those who are more market oriented, we can also give them a course called agribusiness management. So conceptually we said, and first time, there was that we should hype it and all that. So from that one page, I told you now, our IRMA brochure used to be one single page, A4 size paper. First time, we decided to have a proper brochure. And then I remember Professor Rajagopalan, who was the PRM coordinator that time, he told me, Saswat, get it colored. I went to Dr. Qatar Singh. I said, sir, this is a colored. I had worked out some budget. He asked, I knew he will ask for the budget. So I said, this is the budget. He said, it's too much. Then we said, okay, the whole brochure will not be colored. Only the first page will be colored. There will be a color photograph. And it will be a booklet, sort of a booklet. All the courses will be there, course descriptions, everything. So now we have announced it. It has gone to students. And that time it also went to the board. And IRMA board looked at the course, and the new board members had come in that time. And these people are highly experienced, highly dedicated, committed rural development experts. They were no ordinary people. They were all big people. They asked a very pertinent question. And they asked this question that what is rural about this agribusiness thing? What is rural? You are talking about these courses. I do not see any. All the courses are like management courses. How are you different from the management, agriculture management that IIM Ahmedabad does? We did not. So what happened? To cut a long story short, we had to bury it. And then we started new course. And incidentally, I was in both the committees. The committee that was prior to this, which designed that curriculum, old curriculum. I mean, old means that two curriculum, and the committee that new curriculum. There was a retired IS officer who was the chair of that committee. Very nice person. There was a great person, social development sector, uh, Anil Bhai Shah. So he was also the founder of AKRSPI. So he was also in the committee, and we worked out a course, and that was publicized, and students were taken in. So they said that no more these two, what you call streams, only one stream, that will be rural management. And that's how we went in. And I would say that was, so if you do you understand that? So there was a tension that people were debating this issue. Should IRMA open up? Should IRMA? And that is way back in 97, 96, 97. And then there was another group who said, no, we'll stick to our own dharma. And IRMA's dharma is serving the rural areas through cooperatives and NGOs. And okay, fine, that's and we could do, and that is the time. And I think by the end of another thing, I should know that alumni should know. And you see, this is a heart-to-heart talk, so I'm not really trying to filter anything just because I work here, uh, and I love this organization. There's no doubt about it. And but at the same time, I'll be very frank. And please stop me anything if you want clarification on anything, you stop me. And I'm happy that it is getting, I hope it is getting recorded.
Yes, sir.
So because you see, sometimes because I'm getting older, maybe 10 years down the line, if I'm alive, I may not remember many things that I have said. If there's a recording, this recording will help me to write my book that I will be writing that time. So I need this recording. So anyway, so the two things that you will have to understand that by the end of when Tushar was planning to hang his boot, that's about, as I would say, that there was, I remember a meeting, and Professor Srinivas, who used to teach finance, he made a presentation. And he made a presentation that we, IRMA, those days, we did not have any financial problems. We thought we did not have. Because to give you a small example, IRMA's corpus interest income was about 2 crores those days. And our total expenses, 1992, if I remember it correctly, it was about 1.92 crore. So our expenses, total expenses, was less than our interest income. Those days, interest, many of you may not know, those days the interest that percent. So those were the days. And our overall cost of operations were very low. But times, changes were happening, changes were taking place. And by the time to show that, then there was a projection that 7 years or 5 years down the line, IRMA might face a huge financial crisis. We may get stuck. Another problem was that though IRMA had started charging fees, but fees were at a much lower level. In fact, the first time I told in the faculty meeting that we are going to charge 100 rupees for an application form. My God, there was a hue and cry, fighting almost. Some faculty members said, "What are you? You are selling brochure. You are trying to take 100 rupees." I said, "Yes, 100 rupees for the brochure." And but then I think we reduced it to 50 rupees finally, because there was a lot of hue and cry. But we knew that it is slightly going someday, another 3, 4, 5 years, IRMA will have a major crisis. And it so happened that IRMA had real problem finance, and we had to marginally increase the fees. And everything costs were going up. And 98, if I remember it correctly, National Dairy Development Board gave another tranche of money so that IRMA can be floated, it can go on. And we somewhere 98, we got another tranche of 10 crores from NDDB, which helped us to, because by that time we had accumulated not losses, I would say, but deficits. Of course, there were deficits. And because our fees were very low, relatively speaking. Because you see, you cannot compare with the IIMs, because those days IIMs used to get direct funding from budgetary finance from Government of India. And even if they were getting budgetary allocation from Government of India, in 90s I'm talking about, even them, their fees were higher than us. So they were charging fees and they were also having government. And that's what Kurian had objected to, that how can you get both? And because he was the person who reviewed IIM's performance over the years, and he was the chairman of the reviewing committee for IIMs, and there was a lot of fight. I'll not get into that. But yes, there were this anomaly, and we had to increase fees. And when we came to, and Dr. Kurian retired from NDDB and came to IRMA and started having his office here, there was more or less direct control. But he also understood by that time, I think that's by that time, that there is because the whole world is changing. And slowly we'll have to also. In fact, if I remember it correctly, in one of the, I think, inauguration address to the new batches, he said that even if 5% of IRMAns join the sector, I'll be happy. Serve the sector. So that's how. And the underlying theme, and for the last 30 years, unlike many other institutions, and that you'll have to, the first year was trying to find what rural management is. But by the time we come, there's a second decade, sorry, first decade, there was that to try to find out about rural management. The second decade was lot of this thing that should we go against the current or should we with the current? Should we flow along with the liberalization, privatization route, or should we go against the current? And for a long time, we're not balancing. We're going against. We were saying, okay, the world is changing, but we will go our way. And another thing I should tell you that I'm not making any value judgment here. I'm not saying which one is good, which one is bad. No such argument, because none of us will be able to judge what is good or bad at that particular time. Only history will judge us. Huh? I There was a great Cuban revolutionary, and he had said one thing when he was being tried: the history will absolve, history will judge us. We cannot judge our actions now. Huh? Only time will tell whether it was good or bad. But anyway, that tension was going on. As I said, that we started charging fees for certain things, which used to be free. And then we started charging little bit, little bit. And at the same time, the cooperative sector or the NGO sector, they were coming. But because the fees were slightly increasing and all that, they were sometimes not able to match. And there was always, I'll give you that IRMA tried in its own way. For example, we created first few years free education. Then it was bank loan by IRMA's guarantee. Then after that, we had fellowships. I remember I was drafting this Amul Tata Trust Fellowship. And it was meant for people who to serve the organization. And they said, you take a bond. We took bond also. 2 or 3 years bond, I don't remember. So we were doing all these things so that people come and serve. And we knew, and we were slowly realizing that it is not serving. Like I'll tell you, the Amul, one of the one of the MDs told me that, look, why should we pay for the students? They take the scholarship, and after 2 years they jump. Why should we pay them the scholarship? So we'll not pay. We'll give them a hike in the salary, not pay. And the another thing, we were paying some scholarship to people. Then we started that after job, if you take up a job in this, we'll subsidize your salary. That means if you're getting, suppose 30,000 in the base, 20,000, you'll get 10,000 IRMA will give. Now, what happened? Many NGOs, and that is what we call is a problem, moral hazards. Moral hazards of anything that you give. Moral hazard was what was happening. Many of the NGOs would reduce their salary by that amount. Suppose they were paying, say, 20,000 rupees. When they saw, oh, IRMA is paying 10,000, so I will also reduce the salary. So they will offer 10,000. Moral hazard. There's a cat and mouse game. And it is that IRMA, and slowly what we found that IRMA had to also match up to some extent, not to the fullest extent. Two things happened at different phases. For example, after Tushar was leaving, 94, 95, I would say 94, many faculty member, core, those who were within the first decade faculty, they left. And very few of us were left out. Because we were new, relatively new, we stayed back. And when they left, you see, in organizations like this, mission-oriented organizations, and this is what I have, any mission-oriented organization needs to put in extra effort to perpetuate its culture, because that culture is very, very important, because they are mission-driven. And who perpetuates culture? It is not your chairman. It is not your board members. They help, but they cannot perpetuate. It is your people. People perpetuate culture. And because a large critical mass of faculty left, That was one slight vacuum. And then come to, and I am going fast forward, 96, 97. That was another phase where another group of faculty left. And so whenever the faculty leaving, a part of your culture is also when majority. That means when I say majority means 25%, 30% in one. I made a analysis of that for some board purpose. I once long back I did. I took all the faculty attrition in IRMA. Can anyone guess what has been the average? Forget I'm an outlier. Shailendra is an outlier. Forget about the outliers. What has been the average retention period of faculty here in IRMA from first year onwards? And you will be strong. Now, I think we have some stability, but it has been about 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
It is okay for an industry. It is not okay for an academic institution. Most academic institutions, they build their equity when the faculty continues for a slightly longer time. But many things. I would say it was not always a push or pull. There's many factors, both push and pull work here, and many factors that it's not that about IRMA. People did not leave just because of IRMA or its management. They also left for many other varieties of reasons. And I always say that along with it, because I'm also HR faculty, so I look at HR. So I always say that there's a selection error also. Selection error means some people, they come here, but they might not have aligned to the philosophy or the type of work IRMA did and all that. But 98, slowly things started changing in a big way, because now the Korean was not in NDDP. He had come here. And you know what? The issue of big leader, that like I remember Tushar saying this, and I'm just quoting from one of his faculty meetings. He said, Korean is our strength. He's our greatest strength. He's the founder. He's the greatest strength. At times, he's also a weakness, because some ideas that would come people to do such certain things, and those ideas would not really get across properly. And of course, Korean was a big leader, strong leader. And and the academics, problem with this academic people, including myself, not so much, but it is that they are very headstrong people also. Yeah. So that has happened. That if you do not align yourself with philosophically with this, you have that prayer, then you may not be able. And please understand this: many people in industry, you change from one industry to another, you get 20% hike, 30% hike, or something like that. If I have heard it correctly, in academics, it does not happen that way. You are a professor, you get some salary here, you get almost similar scale somewhere. There's some 19 difference, not much. And many people wrongly thought. I have also been throughout. I got offers, but I know that it is not so substantial that it will really attract you. Because of money, I will go. No, that's not. That's a very small. But some people always prided their what we call quote unquote academic freedom to do things your way. And they might have felt, some of them might have felt that they are not getting it. And that's how it happened. And what is IRMAn? We kept on debating, and I think the debate goes, it's good that it still continues. It goes on. I'll give you two things. By end of 98, 99, we were discussing, and we and some of our faculty members, 3, 4, 5 of us, 6 of us, were discussing, we should have a doctoral program. And why we should have doctoral program? Because doctoral program will give something called Foundation for Development of what we call is a knowledge generation in rural management. Rural management is not generating a knowledge which has a critical uh, you know um, magnitude that will make it a discipline by itself. In order to make it a discipline, and in fact, from Tushar's time, there was a demand for PhD program. I remember Pankaj Jain, one of our faculty members, had presented a paper on that why we should have a, but it was all turned down because Korean said we are here to create managers, uh, and you just focus on managers. But when we did it and we started talking about it, Dr. Katar Singh, some or other he called, but that time the Korean was only Irma and Amul he had. So he said, okay, you go ahead if you want. So it was, and I think it was 2000, 2001. He started this, we started, we having this committee, and I was part of that committee which tried to design uh, a program, PhD program in doctoral program in rural management. And we designed it and it was launched in 2002. But the first point was don't take any money from IRMA coffers. We cannot give money for your PhD program. Korean was very clear. And if you want to get, so we approached the Tatas, many organizations, not only, but Tatas were the biggest provider for that program. Uh, I think it was Dorabji Tata Trust, which had funded, and Amul had funded. GCMF had funded, and some other organizations had funded the first few years of the program. And we thought, but the problem was, and this is my, I'm just telling her, the problem was, IRMA by that time, because we were also growing, we were getting faculty from different disciplines and in between. We used to have a faculty induction and all that. There were very regimented, ways of inducting faculty, indoctrination that you can say that faculty. So that was slowly going out, and faculty members from different disciplines coming, and so the doctor's thesis were also getting done in different areas, maybe unrelated to something called rural. Okay, which and that I think was starting point. And then, but again, I put up this proposal with the then director, that sir, in order to develop a discipline, we need a journal. Rural management as a discipline, to become a discipline. It's not a discipline yet, but to become one of the, like Thomas Kuhn, he said that you need books, standard textbooks, you need journals for development of a discipline. So if rural management wants to become a discipline, we should have a journal. So we started this international journal of rural management. And 2004, though I had started working on it since 2002, but 2004 actually I talked to Sage, we talked to different publishers, and finally Sage accepted that, okay, we will bring it out. So Sage accepted our proposal, and then we started the launch the journal in 2004. And why I'm telling you this? You see, for an institution of this nature, it took more than 20 years of struggle to have a doctoral program. I've had it from the beginning. So because their mission was to professionalize the management professionals. We were supposed to be professionalizing rural management, but it took a long time because professional development just does not have. You cannot have a professional development just because you have a program 2-year management course. It has to have a what we call is a ecosystem. It has to generate its own ecosystem. And that ecosystem is the academic, first is the academic ecosystem, which will come from research, through doctoral program, postdoctoral program, through journals and books, textbooks. And we do not have, and I'm also party. I and Shailendra often we discuss about it that someday we'll have a textbook on should we have and not. That's another debate. Should we have it or not? But something on rural management. Do not have books, or should we have books? So that's another thing. So the schisms 2000. Sorry, I think 1 hour. Richie, I think I have. Oh my God, I'm so. Oh my God, I did not ration my time. Huh? Do I have a few more minutes or?
Absolutely, sir. Yes, yes, please. We are all into what
Acha,
you're
okay.
telling.
Uh, so what sort of time, Richie?
Sir, we can take a little more time
Okay,
because
10 minutes.
yeah.
I'll wrap it up as soon as possible. I'll try to wrap it up. You see, 2000. So 2004, I come to that. But 2004, we started another internal. That was a board conflict, board level conflict. You see, internal conflicts in organizations. It has got nothing, and please let me at this point in clarify, and history will absolve me for this. It had got nothing to do with faculty. Though faculty became at the receiving end of it, but it had got nothing to do with faculty. It was a fight within the board for supremacy of two groups. The board was divided in between, and they were fighting. Some faculty, unfortunately, they became secondis. Okay, I call them secondis. Secondary, in Mahabharata. Uh, so faculty were made in between, sit in between, and there was a fight that was going on. I will not make a value judgment on who was right or wrong. It is very difficult. It is absolutely wrong to say that who was right and who was. That time when I was much younger, 2004, and I am of the, I told one of the senior faculty, I gave my opinion. And he told me, he said, no, you are wrong and you cannot take sides on this. Much later, I realized that was wrong. Actually, we cannot make that sort of judgment because we do not have all the information that went behind this. It's only an outsider's view, and we can only speculate on that. Oh, people can speculate, and but the sad part of the story, I should tell you all, and I don't have any hesitation to tell this. I without hesitation, I'll tell you the unfortunate thing about what happened, and it wrecked IRMA. It wrecked IRMA. It lost very good faculty in the process because of that fight. Because one group becomes winner, another group becomes losers. So losers lose it all. There was no midway. And people who were presumably thought of the other side, they had to leave. Very sad story of Irma. But that's not enough. What is the saddest part? And many people and many of the alumni must have also at that time sided with one who is right and who is wrong. The saddest part of the story, Irma, I think, to my knowledge, I've been a researcher in organizational behavior. I have studied many hundreds of organizations, not only in rural sector, outside rural sector also. I have never seen any organization which paid to both the warring parties by its own coffer, who were fighting against Irma or who were fighting for Irma, whatever it is. Both the parties, both the groups of lawyers, and who made money, the lawyers made huge amount of money at the cost of Irma's exchequer, Irma's yeah, treasure, whatever corpus we had. It's not that there's nothing against any person or any group, but this is what happens when in any country there's a civil war. Any country where it goes through a civil war, who is the greatest loser? It's neither of the parties. It is the country itself. Same thing happened. Not only it lost money, it also lost image. Till date, we are about to. That was something that I take full responsibility for saying this. Okay. We had to work hard. It was like a reconstruction after World War. It was a whole reconstruction program that was undertaken, and thankfully so. Uh, one very good thing happened. Also, bad good things also come up from some of the uh, some such struggles. And one good, and I always remember this. So any time an organization goes through this sort of, maybe if you churn a bit more, maybe good things will come. As they say in a Samudra Manthan, the first thing that you get from Samudra Manthan was churning of the ocean. You get the poison, halal. But something slightly more, if you have patient, you're patient enough, you'll also see the good things coming up. Lakshmi and all the other things. Amrit also comes up. Same thing happened. We got a very balanced person after that, a very balanced, very wise, educated person who knew academics uh, in the form of Dr. Y.K. Alag, Professor Y.K. Alag. Alag was, I said, why balanced? Because, when you have had a civil war, faculty were also divided. You needed someone to bring. Start and you start working fresh. But at the same time, yes, that happened. And Professor Alag was also belonged to that generation, people who were in that public sector, uh, and that sort of. But he also was in favor of slowly opening up, following Manmohan Singh's steps, that slowly opening up. We started anew. But that was also the time, because we had paid off. Oh, after the war, you pay off repartition, you pay to the winners and all that happened. IRMA's coffer, IRMA again had a huge, because we were also not increasing the students' fees at all, that all fees they were stagnating in the, so we had to, and it had a terrible time, both in terms of finances and all. So slowly, uh, they worked hard. Professor Alag and many of the alumni, I should say thank the alumni at that time, some of the alumni, they worked really hard, and we did get something from the government later on. And that phase also dawned a new era. So I'll say the post 2006, I should say that it dawned a new era for IRMA. No value judgment. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, but it started saying, accepting the changes that are taking place. So rural development or rural management was defined slightly it got defined slightly in a broader term, that anyone helping rural people come up, it does not matter who does it. We'll very rarely question who is doing it, but rather what is being done. That becomes the more. Where earlier, if you remember the first 2 decades, where who is doing it? Is it cooperative? Is it NGO? Now we are saying, not now, at that time I'm saying 2000, post 2006 and 2010, 11, but debate continued. No, and but still that all the time where more inclusivity and all that we were discussing about inclusiveness, and there's always a debate between how much you can, like for example, IRMA has been always that you cannot have an economy based on subsidy only. Subsidy based economy will, and people will be trained to. So the idea comes from that Chinese belief that it is better to train a person to catch fish than to provide the person with fish. And subsidy is like providing person with fish, and that we continued. And very Interestingly, the post 2010-15, I would say that time, newer forms of organizations were coming and technology was changing everything, and it will change. So uh, technological changes uh, and the type of rural businesses we are talking about, they are also undergoing changes. And now today, I would say, if I come to this, that we are, IRMA is different. Of course, it's different. If first few batches, if students come here, when they come, they're coming, always coming. They would not identify with some of the courses, the students, type of students, because our catchment area has also changed. Like once upon a time, we used to conduct our own tests. We'll go with trunks, I remember. Coolly, sometimes I will carry the trunk to distant places and conduct tests. That we are not doing anymore. We are dependent on some third party, CAT, SAT, MAT, don't remember. Many tests we are taking, and these are changing. Every year it is changing. So the catchment is also changing to some extent. And I would request you not to make a value judgment, which is good or bad, but this is how the world is. And one thing, as a person in the area of organizational behavior, that organizations do make changes in the external world. We, as an organization, as an institution, IRMA, through its alumni, that's why the other half of the lotus, alumni is the other half of the lotus, has made some impact, some changes. Of course, it must have made something. That is why across the country, there are many prestigious organizations that look upon IRMA. Oh, IRMA is a place we should go. IRMA is the place where our managers should be trained and all that. So we have that, and that is because of alumni, because of the faculty and all that. But if you ask me one question, like someone asked me a question, have you achieved our mission? I said, no, no mission is ever achievable. Because the mission with which you started, that mission developed under certain context, certain critical arrangement at that point in time. Those arrangements have undergone changes. And because those arrangements have undergone changes, mission has not changed, but the way you will work, the path that will be different. And no one should lament, oh, we have forgotten. Yes, earlier, some people call me, पहले हम मिट्टी के हंडी में करते थे. I said, yes, that is good, that point in time. But today you will have to quickly cook your food and go to office. So you use what you call pressure cooker. And that is what is essential at this point in time. You don't go back to mitti ka handi. Similarly, things have changed. Your situation has changed. IRMA has to traverse new path, and maybe with alumni and the institution together, we'll have to have this discussion going on and say what sort of shape, what sort of set. Like for a long time, last few years, 10 years. Earlier, we used to have something called retreat. Every almost second year, we'll go for a retreat. And retreat will think about what will be our strategy for the next 5 years. We'll do that exercise. But maybe we are not having it because of many forces, many things, many practice. I don't know. But yes, uh, we should have, and along with alumni, maybe at times to have discussion. And when the alumni Milap thing comes up, usually it is all meeting among batchmates, which is good, which has to be there. It is also some faculty will come and all that. But it Milap, I think I should suggest to Alumni Association, have one discussion that how the future looks like, how we can all contribute to that future of IRMA. I think that is what. Thank you so much. You have been so patient. Sorry, I can go on, but I'll stop here. And
It
if
was it was really wonderful and mesmerizing, actually. In fact, I would definitely like to open the floor to questions. Please raise your hands and maybe we can take them one by one. And I begin with one which I already have on the chat. Anjali is asking, sir, in your opinion, the respect or recognition that IRMA has outside of campus is because of the work IRMANs have done or because of the values they exhibit, which has undergone more change?
Both. Your values get reflected through your work. Values by itself is meaningless. I can say you should have this value, that value. That's but the way I do my work, the way I operate in the actual field, that actually exhibits my values. My values are displayed through my actions. Okay. Yes. And what they have done, how they have done, how they have achieved this. Okay. Like, many people, when people were lamenting and still lament about that cooperatives have not been successful, I always tell you, yes, there are some IRMAns who have made, when they took over, they made a 5,000 crore company, a 72 or 75,000 crore company. I think that's an achievement. It is when everywhere something is falling apart, cooperative, even if sugar sector cooperatives are falling apart. Here, some people, and we should give that. It is, yes, farmers of Gujarat and all this is fine, but it is ultimately, if you look at the managers who are behind this, are IRMANs. Yeah, I'm not saying there's one organization, there are many such that they have gone against in social sector. Look at social sector. Many of the uh, you know work which I would say uh, uh, one should celebrate across the world. And it's not only in India. Okay. The Girish Menon's work, I sometimes quote from his work which I have done. His work across the world in Africa. Look at it. It's a game changer. So, those are through your work, you have impacted people's life. You have made a huge impact. One of her, I'm forgetting the name. One of her alumni is she and me. Both of them are working on this rural, what do you call it, uh, uh, rural tourism, which is making an impact in people's life in rural areas in a more eco-friendly way. I think that's a achievement. And so you go anywhere. Mm, and to me, frankly speaking, today, that it does not matter where you go. But when an IRMAN goes with a very different mindset. It does not matter whether you are working with a pure corporate five, but there also you will bring in each of one. Think of it. No ordinary, no MBA, common stream MBA will think about it. An IRMAN can think about it. That is what an IRMAN is. So I think it is, sorry, I.
So the next question is, please share your views on impact of becoming an institute of excellence.
See, one, that is where I have some reservation. Now, who do you want to say that you are an excellent institution? Who are the people who dominate that stage? Which are the interest group which dominate that stage? Acha, if I tell myself I'm excellent institution, uh, that's meaningless. Someone else has to stay. But the problem is of excellent institutions. For them, the points of assessing excellence is very different from the point that we think is. For example, I'll give you student salary. That's one. That's not the only one. Whether students are going for higher education. Okay. Why we want them to work at least 3 years, 5 years, soil their hand for people who are slightly less fortunate than we have been. And that's whichever way you work. So maybe Salary is important. I'm not saying salary is not important. Salary is important, but salary is not the only criteria based on which decisions students will make a decision. Are you getting this? And this is what the people, those who set this agenda, excellence institution, they don't consider this. इनका तो सीधा सीधा है कि भाई, this is the salary, so that's the number one. Even if they would not take into consideration how fraudulently that salary actually is getting calculated. Okay. So I do not think that excellence will come. Yes. For example, many, and this is what I have an ongoing fight with many people, including some of my colleagues. I say that a research, like for example, how many publications you have? Yes, publications are necessary, but there are very few journals in this world. Which will they A-type? I'm talking about the top class journals. They would not like to uh, publish an article which deals with a very small, from their point of view, very small segment of world's population. They want something else. Okay. And therefore, publishing, if you do a mainstream research, you will get published easily. If you do a rural management, very what you call a niche area research, they will, why they should do it? So your publications. So all this. So I think excellence is that what is your mission? The extent to which you have achieved that mission should be the game point. But at the same time, I'm saying that we cannot go out of it. We are in NI, RF and all that. I remember 2001, 2002, two batch, 2001, I think that's the, I worked with the director that year we took a chair because our year had come down. That time I think Business India or something, we did it. We worked hard. IRMA became fifth, number 5 in terms of number of management institute. It was ranked number 5. Today we are 50 something. But that does not mean IRMA's impact has gone down. It is because other factors have come into play where we do not figure. Sorry.
Sir, two questions from Chidambaram, sir. Do you think now the cooperative are on their way out and producer companies have come into place? What do you think IRMA contributing to it, and how can IRMAn contribute to this change to producer companies, because Amul type cooperatives hardly exist?
That coops are not their way out. No, that is a wrong way of looking at it. They have been, and cooperatives for a some reasons, wrong reasons, and they have been sidelined, and that is one. So coops are not out there. And please let us not put cooperative and producers organizations as two warring entities. No, they coexist. They will coexist. Okay. Yes, as you very rightly said, producer companies can be, because they have certain advantages by dint of cooperation. There are some changes also coming in the way. Let's wait. We'll have to wait for some time to see the changes, actual changes at the ground level. And there are some changes which are mooted and which we have. IRMA has actually played a big role there. Maybe it has not come through. All the changes have not come through. It may come. But at the same time, I fully agree with you that producer companies, IRMA has to focus more. And we are focusing. Some of our faculty are fully dedicated to producer company. And we are doing it. In fact, a few days we are having this bankers training, and there I had put in that how bankers will enable bankers to fund producer companies. Now they were not doing this. They are not doing it. So now we are saying that bankers, the producer company and banker linkages, producer company in the sense producer, farmer, FPCs, farmer producer companies, farmer producers organizations, they can collaborate banking and they can get, and bankers are now opening up. That's a very good thing. That bankers are now opening up, and IRMA is certainly playing a catalyst role. That just now, in fact, I just now had a discussion, and earlier, a week back, I had a discussion with the ED of a huge biggest public sector bank. And today I had a discussion with their CGM that how IRMA and those banks can collaborate in helping or in financing the farmer producer companies. So when I'm talking of producer company, please understand I'm only talking about farmers producer companies, not other producer companies. Farmers producer, FPOs and FDCs. Okay. Yes, that's a big,
Uh,
big thing.
Thank you, sir. We'll take the last question. I believe Ritesh has raised his hand. We are at 6:30. I'm sorry, guys. We want to hear Professor Biswas for another age, but we should be a little mindful. So, Ritesh, the last question from you, please.
Hi, sir. It was
Hi,
lovely hearing
Ritesh. Thanks.
hearing you. I am from PRM 34,
Yeah.
and we remember you fondly. Uh, I want to understand that these days the span of attention or the span of commitment to fund an idea have gone down. We want to fund an FPO and we want to see it succeed within 3 years. Every other funding agencies or government is saying that okay, 3 years are good enough to fund a farmer producer company and it should become a Amul.
Mm,
Now, and every time, these funding agencies,
mm.
they want some new idea, they want glamour, they want buzzwords to fund. Now, climate resilient, and their span of attention will be for 3 years only.
Ah.
Was this the case earlier also, or do we now see the span of attention going down dramatically for the funders?
You see, this is a this age, but all good thing. Yeah. This is we age of quick reaction. You want quick results, fast food, like fast food. You'll have it immediately. You are hungry, you just order. Swiggy comes, delivers. You have it done. Uh, and this is, I think, is the order of the day. We cannot go out of it. No one can. The only thing is that the companies, the farmers, but I know it's extremely difficult, or it is almost impossible for a farmer producer company to really start earning in 3 years or 4 years, uh, where there are many other issues. Uh, and But at the same time, they will have to tweak their ways. The way we used to do things in the past, the same way we cannot do it now. Like today, I'll just give you an example, small example. Uh, we were using here that how farmer producer companies can leverage technology, how bankers can leverage technology. They can meet through technology, and it can be, and there can be two ways. One is the building its own image and other things, and then is the collaborating with others, but which can be done much faster. Like to give you an example, it is possible. It is singly, individually, any farmer producer company cannot be self-reliant in the short run. However, when hundreds of, and technology can provide this platform, when hundreds of farmer producer company can come together and collaborate, and they can do wonderful things, and maybe they will have some, like whether you talk about sustainability, whether they will have a bigger impact. The next level of PFCs will be like we used to talk about cooperation among cooperatives. Now there's an age is coming when we will talk about collaboration among farmer producer companies, so that they have a big impact. Uh, and another very good thing about that's happening today, technology is providing you the platform to which you can do such collaborations seamlessly. And so I think that things are changing, and it is but as I said that PFCs will be, it is not that it will replace the traditional cooperatives. They will continue. PFCs will continue, and maybe some time they will uh, merge. There will be, people will say, don't make a distinction between these two, they are the same. So that maybe a future will come that way.
Okay. Thank you, sir. One quick last one from
uh,
Anjali.
uh,
She's curious to know how has the classroom discussion changed with new generations, social media, etc.
ah, I'll tell you what, I think at the time, after the COVID, after we had this online classes, I think there has been a change. And change because the students who have come, they have gone through that experience of online and all that, and they have been exposed to online materials and all that. Yes, but I think discussion has gone down. That's true. In fact, to involve, I'll give you one. I don't know whether how the students can say how it went. In order to, first time in my life, you see, I am a person, I always loved theater. Though after joining IRMA, I had very little opportunity, one or two plays I must have done. But I thought someday I thought that I will float a course which will have a element of theater in that. So this time I started a course and I thought people will take it very, very seriously, doing it, rehearsing it, skit. They were supposed to develop a skit and play it out. They did it. But I had a feeling that it was the way I was visualizing it, that they will feel very passionate, charged about it. Uh, some rather, I think I have not touched that base. So classroom discussions, because I also understand students today, they have much, lot of pressure. To give you an example, there's a batch size of 300. Placement becomes an issue when the batch is very huge, people, large number of organizations also coming. But there is a tension. I can, as a parent also, I understand that there is a tension. And students are not always able to pay that. And anyway, social media and other things have reduced our span. This is a worldwide. All psychologists, I was in a conference abroad. I was in conference in a UK last year, and we were discussing the same issue that span of attention has gone down, both in classrooms, and this is largely because of social media and other things. We are quickly, every time you talk about something, my hand goes to my yeah, mobile phone, and I want to check something, and that is there. So we are what you call focusing and mindfulness, what in psychology we call mindfulness, that is going down. That's true. That's a general problem of society, not for just IRMA students. It's a societal problem. All of us will have to address that. Like I'll give you a tip. Many people read books, which is good, online and all that. I trained both my sons to only read printed books. Not only, but printed books mainly. Till date, they have this habit of reading books, printed books. They would not like to have this online books. Huh? So but it's a habit. People should develop that habit. Uh, so but anyway, we'll have to use technology. We cannot shy away from technology. We'll have to understand what is blockchain. We'll have to understand what use it. We good user of AI. I tell my students in the class, I told them that you use AI, but use your creative mind. If you just copy from the chat GPT, I will catch it because I will catch you because I also do courses. I also take courses on this, and I also found out that how you can catch because they also tell you how you can catch. So don't do that. Don't full focus and but we cannot shy away from technology. But it should be our slave. Okay,
Sure, sir. Thank you.
thank you.
We really don't want to leave you, but
No, no, I know.
क्या करें सर, आप भी थक
La,
गए
la, la,
होंगे,
la.
सुबह से आप भी सेशन ले रहे हैं, तो आई एम श्योर you must be also looking for some rest. And since we are very lucky to have CP Mohan with us. Mohan,
Ah,
are you there?
Mohan is
Uh,
here. Oh,
yes.
great. I'm really.
Mohan, I would like to call upon you to please help us thank Professor Biswas and
Arey,
also make the big announcement that we are going to make today. So over to you, Mohan.
Thank you so much, Rishi. Thank you, Professor Biswas, for the longest surviving faculty of IRMA across many decades. Yeah. So we have, you being an internal person, and people. I come from the first batch. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohan. Thank you so much. And just adding on to what Mohan has announced, we are planning a very, very big conclave this time. Last year, which we did, was only a teaser. Let me tell you all, this year it's going to be really big, and we've started preparations in January itself, only for the reason that this time we want to invite all our international alums as well. So that's the only reason why we have started so early in our preparations. And I hope the message goes across. We will soon start our campaign and communication and everything on those lines. So we are also looking for making teams and volunteers and working around it. So please reach out in case anybody is interested in any little work, big or small, whatever. Just reach out. We'll be very happy to take you in the team. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Biswas, once again. It was wonderful, wonderful to have you with us. And IRMAn Talks is very close to our heart. That is why we always invite all very influential people on IRMAN Talks. And thank you for being with us here today. Thank you to all the audience. Thank you once again. Bye.